Hello ladies and gents, Booper here again with epic giant expanded control tests for modern with top tier decks. So that's Countess or Vizier Company on the left and giant variant of Type Shadow on the right. Here you see me kinda updating my sideboard for the deck. Basically, I'll have one buy. Much more inclined towards Tron for the GP for the weekend. There are multiple reasons for that route, but yeah, if you want to play company in the coming weeks in Modern, then you probably want to have something like Big Game Hunter in your sideboard. You want to have enough ways in the sideboard to get rid of nasty artifacts or enchantments. I'm talking about cages, needles, well, not so much relics, but chalice, things like that. Ratchet bone, maybe sometimes you can try to, catch it on time. So you need some tools for the mirror, which is actually alright because it breaks things. But you definitely want Lin Valley in your sideboards, like you just can't sleeve up the combo version of the how to say part of the metagame spectrum without Lin Valley in your sideboard. And if you have access to white in your company deck, then yeah, like okay, even if you just have company in a deck and no cord, I think you still want Lin Valley because it's just so good, at least for now. But then if we see mid-range decks to have a big comeback in the next couple of weeks, then maybe the deck will die out and you'd see much less of the deck, but it has been so popular and nothing has really stopped it that much so far, so I don't know, but there's a possible chain of events that will make you less inclined towards stuff like Linvala or Pontiff, for example. And a lot of shadow decks turns to Sultai or Grixis, so no lingering souls, so Pontiff is even lost meaning in that matchup as well. And well, it's still great in the mirror for affinity. It's important while Storm is still a deck because, well, it's a way to get rid of all the empty tokens. But yeah, and Eidolon still has the right to be in a deck, but I don't know, I think Storm is actually overhyped and people have been considering this deck a lot or preparing for it just because there's so much of it online, but it's there online for specific reasons. Basically, it's the quality price ratio which is attracting people to Storm. It's pretty cheap to make, I would say, especially online, because online you can sell off all the junk to bots and just save up and pile up some resources to get the whole deck, and it's really one of the cheaper competitive decks in the format. But yeah, so Grixis DevShot is probably much harder for company deck, and yeah, let's just put it this way: if I'm struggling in general sometimes against Jund Shadow, then let's just put it this way: you need to have some upgrades for the deck, or maybe really play test it more and get more experience with it, because unlike so I mean, the gen has a lot of removal, and it has traverse, so it can find its pieces faster and more reliably. But the Grixis one, it has denial and sometimes the blue-black counter for non-creatures. So they have actually a lot of ways to stop you from going bananas with Cord and Company and stuff like that. So that's a huge factor. And I'm expecting a lot of Shadow decks at the GP this weekend and moving on. Because let's say that Blue-White Control could be a good answer for all the Shadows decks because of a bunch of things, including Condemn. But I'm not expecting for the deck to actually die out that much, because you're just playing your kind of like Grixis Control or Giant Midrange style, but with much faster win conditions. And a lot of the win conditions are actually the same. I don't think, even with a week of high results from the Shadow deck, it will be banned. Maybe only if it will actually, constitute to a really large percent of the metagame, then maybe, yeah. Otherwise, I don't think it will get slammed. So yeah, let's hope it's as much lyrics as I want to say at this point. Maybe something else will come up to my mind whilst you're watching this matchup. Basically, I'm just like mentally preparing you and trying to make you think in terms of deck building, in terms of deck choice and card choice. But yeah, also maybe because, well, I'm trying to wake myself up and get myself focused too, so that I can bring you the best commentary and also bring you all these matchups before the GP or just as fast as possible, because I'll be, traveling for the next week and a half, so I won't be able to, do much editing and commentation and so on. Yeah. What can I say about the Giant, the Shadow in particular here in this game? Well, my teammate basically he cut off the whole white splash in the sideboard, so he just doesn't like it, and it's too risky because of ghost quarters and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's only good in the mirror, but then again, mirror might be a pretty big thing at the GPU, but I guess he just doesn't want to, bug himself with the splash, what to take out, when to bring this in, and so on, and just to worry whether his only white source will get destroyed, and then he will be stuck with uncastable cards in his hand, and so on and so on. It's already like not, I would say, not the easiest deck to sideboard with. But if you're going Jaunt, I do like the white splash, and do like 4-color builds in general, but maybe the ones with just no white, so with red and with blue and green at the same time, so no blue and no white variants. It's still harder to bluff, so maybe going straight Grixis or Sutalik is the way to go. But then on the other hand, let's just say I do like Colgan's Command, and yeah, that's basically what you're splashing for in the sideboard, plus maybe some sideboard tools. What else? But yeah, maybe outside of Colgan's Command and a couple maybe other cards, you don't really need much of red, so it's kind of a pretty tiny splash. But combination of Count Magic and Traverse is what constitutes a pretty good Death Shadow recipe in my mind. Again, my phone is charging, but we're gonna pull up the left pads for you anyway, soon. Yeah, well, trying to figure out like the best spot for it, but not much going on just yet. I think he's mulliganing down to 6. I've been on the play here. We're forced into noble. Don't need to take up to take too much damage early on. Okay, let's hope I actually move the phone here, because you can't see his life total, which is probably much more important than mine for multiple reasons. Okay, if I didn't notice this, well, okay, now I'll be trying my best to notify you of change in his life total. On time and so on. So it looks like he kept his 6, or he was debating about it, but it wasn't an insta ship back. Okay, he shows me his starting 6 that had double Footseas, I think, in a swamp. It has also Lily and Goif in it. I would actually keep it, especially on the draw, so I don't know why he didn't want to keep it. That's kind of like a perfectionist speaking in him. That was perfectly serviceable hand on the draw, with interaction actually, and no matter what 2 lands he draws, well, he would need the second black, but basically, yeah, because I suppose there's only like 1 basic swamp and 1 basic forest in the deck, which also switches on his Goif, so if he just draws lands, he just casts the rest of his hand, and his 2 turns could be like discard spells, which is really good. I'm not sure what kind of better hand he could ask for. Okay, something like a fetch with and the traverse in the starting hand. Just everything for you. I don't know. That was very greedy. I think that was very greedy to ship away that 6. Don't think that was a good decision. I don't think that was a good decision. And yeah, I think what I've talked to you about at the beginning of this tape is actually relevant, because I can't, narrate for more than an hour within one vid. I think this is gonna be split into 2 parts, so yeah, so obviously this will be part 1, and recording of the match, which is more than 1 hour. It's probably gonna be hard to watch and keep track on, and so on, so probably we'll be splitting this. Inquisition took out Witness because, like, come on, quite often, even in game 1, it's a battle of resources, I would say. And do have interaction lane in form of Fin Hunter, so I can try to find that out to answer his big shadow. It's done 2 things, which is a good start, especially on the play, and especially once since my opponent mulled down to 5 on the draw. So he's gonna take a lot of damage. Okay, it looks like I didn't notice that it wasn't really visible. So Goif is a 3/4 because, well, there's just a sorcery and 3 lands on his side, but there's a creature on my side, so Goif is a 3/4, so it stops. Well, it doesn't exactly stop things from attacking, technically, because that will be a 4/3 thanks to Exalted from Noble. But I don't think I want to attack with things into this Goif now. Well, depending on my hand, if I have like a company in my hand, plus Vizier Counter's version can, win without things, it can go just Druid Vizier Ballista, so yeah, I think would be a fine attack. It would make his shadow better, but then again, if he trades here, I'm not unhappy, and I don't think he will. Uh, okay, I actually go for Infinite Life here. So that Kateki is proxying a 4th Vizier because I wanted to try this kind of all-in build from Brett Carpenter. That was, I think, first at the SG Classic or something. So and then after Vizier, I just convoked it, cored it out. Vizier opponent stepped out. So that's basically your cool. What is it? Turn 3 kill, sort of. So yeah, that kind of stuff is really annoying. One of the reasons why I like having some warping whales in my e-tron uh, between main and side, and also um, I like to be big on dismembers as well, and main deck Ratchetdom can also go far. Not a fan of spatial contortion though. Outside of, I don't know, zoo burn kind of decks, or I know elves or merfolks, which I'm already should be fine against. Contortion just doesn't do enough. While warping whale can accelerate you or counter some important sorceries, for example, stuff from Scapeshift. So yeah, the point is, the Shadow deck, whatever variant that is, can't really beat Infinite Life because it's not a super duper preactive answer heavy deck. Yeah, I think once you see Infinite Life this early, it's just a point of no return, basically. Yes, he does run some main deck terminates because of Eldrazi matchup, but who cares, basically? Basically, who cares? Yeah, I think I'm just tracking fetch and response so that this cry from the seer actually matters. But I don't know. I will just go to the next game here. Yeah, and because this kind of stuff happens, but you don't want to just scoop up. So that's why I kind of tuned up my e-tron a little bit. I've added a sideboard to Lamuk. I don't like it main deck because it's just so heavy, such a heavy drop. So, but I do want to have it. I can't really search up for it. There's no Sanctum or anything. I do like that tool better than the new Emrakul. Be, yeah, uh, because this new Olmec actually uh, can help you win games when they're at Infinite Life because it just decks them basically. Um, yeah, and let's say they have Infinite Life, and of course they can then try something good on top. Probably like a company or a chord on top, just to have options. Maybe a druid, but I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, was a company, but this game is just all done at this point. There's like witness from a company, returning whatever. It doesn't really matter what I do here. Yeah, he doesn't really have ways to come back from this. But yeah, after sideboard you add an Ulamog and you add in like sweepers and a lot of other hate. So basically, once they have infinite life, and after that you draw interaction and try to contain the board. You can try to survive till you get to the Ulamog, and then you can win from there. And that's actually, and once you actually get it, it's a pretty fast clock from there. But if you're really low on clock, you might want to just scoop it up because I don't think you want to run Sanctum of Wigan just for that tech. Just not gonna do enough for you overall. Just not a big fan. of Sanctum in the Ultras division. Yeah, so you're not gonna have really ways to like find it. Legacy Ultras, you can find Sideware Tulamag with the Eye of Ugin in the long game, so they can tutor for it with a land and not use a spell for that. So yeah. This is the long explanation of what this all means, this whole situation. And yeah, sometimes I can cut a few fragments here and there, but it's hard to, prepare yourself mentally to do that because I'm commentating and recording and so on. So yeah, and to avoid this kind of stuff, because bear in mind that there was a core turn 3 involved to assemble this whole thing. If you start off with a turn 1 cage or Niddle, that's it. That's it. And sometimes it's important to count the turns, right? Because if you see that the opponent cannot really, have enough time to assemble the ballistic kill, because you need to untap with the devoted druid, basically. That means that you should name a card with a needle. So you should name Viserysir if you think that, for example, you don't have Ulamog just yet, things like that. So preventing infinite life is also a thing. If you just need to buy yourself some time. And same goes with discard spells from the shadow. So you need to see which combo is more threatening for you and which one you might have time to disrupt in your future turns with following discard spells. So that's important. That is definitely important. So that's still main deck configurations, I imagine. Because this was a rather quick game, I should say. Well, it doesn't look so time-wise, but because, we were actually discussing a lot, but experienced player would just scoop very easily in that position and not even consider what you can do after this. And the moral here is, of course, like, know your deck, know your option. Don't waste time for no reason if you just have no business like coming back into the game. Because time is precious when it comes to competitive Magic, that's for sure. Because, for example, you can use the spare time to think about properly how you want to sideboard. Okay, now he gets to start. We're actually so even if he would have won that game, he would still start because it's really important in testing to take turns. Because however unfavorable the matchup might be, you don't want to warp your experience and your conclusions this way. So you need to have nearly equal amount of games where you've been on the play or on the draw in the matchup. So you don't want to get fake statistics or fake results, basically. So that was fast. Yeah, that was a Starfire. One of the good advantages the red Goyf version has. To get to play Starfire, which gets your win condition. fast and going. It also really helps with delirium for the traverse. So yeah, it serves a couple very big purposes. Well, we can say three. Go off traverse and just BNF quick removal. That can also go face, by the way. So it's not something like a magma spray with tribal at card tap attached to it, so it also can help you to close out the games as well. That's pretty important. You can even shock yourself to make the shadows more powerful if you really need to do that. For example, if you have Shadow plus Team or Battle Rage, because in that situation, shocking yourself is actually means 4 damage for your opponent. So don't forget about that interaction. So here's a Goif Blast Traverse. So he gets now another Goif. Yeah, well, makes sense, because it will be way larger than any potential Death Shadow next turn, I think. It's 5/6, I think, if not 6/7. Yeah, it's actually now already 6/7, I imagine. Yeah, which is pretty sick. Here's just a Devoted Druid, so again a one-lander. Again, just a one-lander. So if I would be playing against Living End, I would be totally screwed with draws and keeps like that. Double Goif beatdown, but I actually think I got them killed, because, well, Vizier of the whatever, I get the infinite mana, then I get the cord out Recruiter, Recruiter activate Recruiter for whatever time I need, go through the deck, find Ballista, cast Gigantic Ballista, kill my opponent while he's tapped out. Yeah, so that kind of stuff happens, and this is why you probably don't want to tap out even when you can, just to try to, pull off a removal spell in response of the, stuff, so that your opponent with company deck will kind of fear that and not go for that, even though most times, especially facing even a single Goy, which is like 6/7 by then, it's correct to just try to go for it and hope they don't have it. I mean, any instant spot removal. Yeah. So that stuff happens, and yeah, I don't know, there's a chance I'll be blaming myself for not picking the right deck, but it's hard to know. E-Tron and company are just very close right now in terms of playability, even though a lot of people are really liking and hyping the company deck. But it has a huge target on its head. It does, it really does, and I do kind of expect that people will really hate it out with mid-range decks and shadow decks and so on. I don't know, it's also, if you face enough of interaction, it's a very exhausting deck to play in the long run and during 2-day tournaments, so that's kind of a thing. You can lose focus, it's just very hard to play, very hard to sideboard. Well, of course the shadow deck will have surgical. Kind of boarding in a similar fashion like against Eldrazi's. So, yeah. Although you don't really need that much of, like, land artifactor um, shaman destruction. So it's very likely that I would not bring in Pride Mage against the Shadow decks. But you do want to have something like Unmaking, Null Repulse, or Decay in your sideboard. If something crazy shows up like a Cage or something. What else? You can't really play around surgicals that much. It's kind of obvious the kind of stuff that my opponent can decide in here, but he's doing big mistakes about what he wants to take out. So yeah, I think sideboard in this matchup is kind of straightforward, but in terms of what you take out, you probably just trim down the combo pieces just to be less vulnerable to surgicals, for example. But yeah, you don't want to over sideboard as well, so you do want the paths actually in this matchup way more than you want them against Eldrazi, for example. Yeah. And you definitely want all of your Witness, Eternal Witness in the deck because of the discard spells. While against Eldrazi you might trim 1 or 2 down. Though that's not like entirely correct. Okay, so he doesn't need Painful Tropes, even though I like that kind of card in Shadow decks in the sideboard. Just extra pro draw. Right. Grixis variance doesn't really need it all that much because Serum Visions, Snap caster into Serum Visions. It's wrong to take out any Tarfires or Lilianas or Kolaghan's commands, in my opinion. Because Kolaghan's command historically been very strong against company decks. And yeah, I could see an argument for taking out Liliana of the Whale, but the new Lily, the Last Hope, actually really good because you get to get rid of the creature that you want and not just a random one. Or like a Monodork or something. And it can help you to get back your frats. Though most of the time they will be pathed, but sometimes they could get pulsed or decayed. Actually, another argument for running Unmaking over Pulse in the sideboard, not just for budget reasons, but the thing is that then they can't Kolaghan's commands or whatever, or Lily back the stuff they that you target. Shadow or Goyf or whatever, or one of those Delve creatures. Losing life in that matchup is just a minimal drawback, kinda. Because you either really lose, or you just don't really lose anytime soon. Something like that. I don't think you want to take out bubbles because they make Goyf and Delirium so easy. Cutting on Street Wraith is kind of easy. Maybe you just cut one Street Wraith, one bubble, just because Street Wraith nets you a card immediately and not next turn. So yeah, and you do want to damage yourself because of the shadows. So maybe trim down 1 and 1. But on the other hand, fast Goyf beatdowns is one way to just quickly close out this matchup, and there will be creatures in my side probably because of discards and stuff, but unlikely there will be artifacts except for maybe like somehow randomly discarded ballista. Yeah, so artifact is kind of more important for Gwyff at least. But yeah, it's arguable. Maybe you just take out 1 and 1. Because I do like how you can sometimes, if you see a very crazy company flip, you can try to draw into some instant removal. Things like that. For examples. But yeah, let's just say that because of Witness and all the dig spells, and because you can combo out multiple ways, at least the Giant Shadow matchup is actually quite okay. But the Grixis one, which I didn't get to test, is much more scary on paper and in chats. Just because they can interact with you much better, and because of that matchup, probably a lot of people will be moving to Grixis over Giant. And I guess I just don't want to play that matchup with the company. I'd rather play that with Tron, because well, then all those denials and non-creature counters wouldn't really bother me that much. So he goes down to 15 turn 1. Takes out what is a proxy of 4 V0 remedies. Like, I got myself 3, I thought that would be enough, but now I saw a list with 4, but now I think actually I'd want to diversify the deck a little bit because of Surgical, so I think I'd go back to 3 Druids and 3 Viziers and so on. I'd add in like a Red Cap back to the deck because it's also interesting for mirror match, so some main deck interaction, and yeah, also allows you to actually win when you're all, for example, like in the previous tape against Altrazitron, my Kitchen Things got Surgical, and I just didn't have time to actually, find the druid or cast it and just survive, because I'll have to chum block with it because I was such a low life total at that point. And Tune plus Feeder would have been an out, or get a find in the Red Cap would have been an out as well. Gwyff is now what, 4-5 already? That's pretty big. Okay, it gets pathed though. Although it gets pathed, so buy myself some time. Giving an extra land to Death Shadow is really not important. They'll be able to cast their spells pretty much no matter what, because the curve in that deck is so low, whatever version that is, even if it's Grixis, so he'd have pretty stocked graveyard anyway to delve and cast those Anglers and Taskers, so it doesn't really matter. For instance. Okay guys, before I lose track of things that are going on here, I'd rather make a cut here, so I'll continue with the second part of this, so remember where we left off.